Alright, we are recording for chapter 6 of the Wrath of Khan novelization in this. You know, I've been actually pretty good at pointing to the right direction. Positive, but this chapter is giving me thoughts. Okay, positive thoughts, positive opinions, but yeah. I mean, this is... Yeah, thus far, and technically there's still time for my mind to be changed, because there's 3 chapters and the epilogue. This is probably, of all the books I've done the assigned reading on, my favorite thus far. I don't remember. What did I give Princess Bride? Even Princess Bride had some complaints from me. Okay, that was only 3. It's only Return of the Jedi that I've given a 4 to, which is the you gotta read it. This is definitely better than that, though. Okay. So, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy have been dining in Kirk's quarters, and the debate about Genesis has been continuing between Spock and McCoy. But then they get the call from Uhura because Reliant has appeared on sensors. And there's a question here. Kirk, why is Reliant here? Spock asked. Kirk wondered the same thing. Starfleet had said only the Enterprise was free and near enough to Spacelab to investigate Carol's call. I do have some problems with that, because it is true that clearly Reliant was close enough because it went there. And also, Reliant was assigned to work with her, so Reliant is the one that should be the first to respond, even if it's not the nearest, right? Unless it is okay, no, Genesis is of such a high priority, nearest ship, especially because Kirk is there and he has clearance, he needs to go. And actually that's actually significant right there. Kirk has clearance, so he can know about Genesis. Tyrell and Chekhov know about Genesis. No other ship should be available to go, because no other ship would have somebody there that can respond. So, anyway. But yeah, that is... Why did Starfleet not try contacting Reliant, it seems, to send? Or did they try and fail to get through? If that's the case, Kirk should have known that, then. Such that it isn't wait, I thought we were the only ones in the area, but that's weird. Starfleet said they were non-responsive. Why are they now here? But in any case. Yeah, this is the next thing, right? Yeah. So they're trying to establish communication. Everything's being denied. And attempt visual communication. Aye, sir. Uhura brought the low-power visible light comm laser online and aimed it towards Reliance receptors. This technology is real, by the way. Like, we do actually use laser links for certain... Either just it needs to be remote, or for very high-speed communication. There's other ways you can also get high-speed communication. But in any case, I got a problem with this because I grant, it sounds science fiction, but why the hell would Starfleet use this for communication between starships? I mean, you're literally, even a beam this large, it's over such a distance that you're gonna... Getting that alignment is going to be very difficult. Both ships are going to have to be trying to maintain that alignment. It is not the right technology for this. It's also something that could not be used at warp. Because I don't think light is going to like being at warp. I mean, it's special relativity, technically also general. But an aspect of special is the idea that light is the universal constant for more reasons than you may think. It's not just because, oh yeah, the speed of light is the same everywhere. No. It's also because even if you are traveling at high speeds, relativistic speeds, so that's up to speed of light, if you make a measurement of the speed of light, it continues to be the speed of light. So it's one of those funny things with relativity, and I'm pretty sure this has been proven, that basically, well, not necessarily in this way, but if you were on a locomotive or a rocket, to use the means of transportation Einstein would use in his thought experiments, that was traveling at 9/10 the speed of light, and you shined a light out in front of you, And if you were to measure the speed of that light, it is still going at the speed of light. It is not going at just 1/10 the speed of light. There isn't a relative speed there. No, it is still traveling at the speed of light. And this is the reason why you see various things such as time dilation, expansion, contraction, the Lorentz transformations. Lorentz Fitzgerald transformations is another guy who's also named. I can never remember his name. Forgive me, I can never remember it. But yeah, and it is one of those things where, how I said in a previous video, even Einstein's theories of relativities, there is a certain elegance to their underlying concepts. That is one of the wilder aspects of it, but that is still part of the elegance of special relativity in general. That the speed of light, no matter your frame of reference or inertial frame, no matter what that is, it is still the speed of light in a vacuum. Technically, that is part of it as well. Because light does travel slower in air. But in any case, it's still, that is part of it, and is an elegant concept there. And then it's like, okay, what are the consequences of that? And you end up getting special and general relativity. So yeah, I don't, it's not a, and they are traveling. Maximum impulse, from my understanding, is canonically 1/2 the speed of light, which is the edge of relativistic speeds. So it would start at that speed, and if they're going like this, keeping that laser connection is going to be very difficult. It's not a smart idea. I get how it's science fiction, but it's not a good example of science fiction in this. It just doesn't make sense. If you had a single ship that was controlling multiple, then it would make sense. Where it's like, okay, these are like drone ships meant to be controlled. Then it would make sense. But communication between ships that aren't in fleet with each other, aren't in some sort of pattern, no, it makes no sense. All right. Yeah. They still won't raise their shields, Joachim said. And hang on, just let me check. Okay, we haven't gotten yet to the a lot of the lines for Kant, not all, a lot of them are the same from in the movie. We haven't gotten to Savick pointing out the whole we need to raise. Oh wait, no, that is right up here. Sorry, sir. If I may quote General Order 12 on the approach of any vessel when communications have not been established, the admirals are aware of the regulation but still go to yellow alert and all that. Anyway, Joachim, they still won't raise their shields. Everything that was happening seemed to exist at a very great distance. Only his memories stayed close to him, terrifyingly immediate, flashing into his vision every time he blinked or even let his attention drift. The expression in March's eyes, the blood flowing down Madison's face, the suicide of Zenaida. Sorry, it's using her last name. I am not even trying to pronounce that one. And he could not forget what Madison had said to him. But then, okay, so it's like he is deeply troubled by what he saw, which I do find curious because he's not born in this century. He is from the eugenics war. So what the hell did he already see there? That this is what's impacting him. That seems odd. It is possible maybe he was among the younger ones then and didn't see and do things. But now he is and it's troubling him. Or maybe it is just that's behind him. I'm not sure. But I do feel like some sort of explanation that would be appreciated. We do then also get Khan basically telling him, where to shoot and be careful because he wants to make sure that Enterprise is sufficiently wounded. Kind of like how with Vance, don't just cut the throat, but cut in a spot so his blood will drain over 10 minutes. I just want to check. Was there anything else here? Okay. So next we cut to Peter, who is standing next to his station. Yellow alert has been called, not red alert. Shields on it up, phasers on ready, all that. But yellow alert. So he is at his station, and he is both the amazing cadet, but also he does kind of stand in for all the cadets because we get the explanation concerning him that, concerning all of them, that is this just like another training exercise that we're just not in on, like a realistic simulation? Is that what's going on here? But he does kind of doubt that because, okay, if that were the case, the veterans, which are just those who are, graduates of the academy, they wouldn't be at the stations, at the primary stations. We would be. So he is like, no, this is hinky. This isn't just a simulation. But he is standing there. And these are his thoughts, even as the klaxon alarms are going off. Okay. Just, a little bit of him basically in his mind just thinking through, and also how, like the lessons being postponed are annoying to him and all that. But anyway. So, yeah. From out of nowhere, a shockwave slammed into the deck. A moment later, the noise of the explosion struck. So he is in engineering when engineering is specifically targeted and attacked, which does include a hull breach. But it is quickly shut, so that's not an issue, but it is now having to be repressurized and all that. Oh my god, Granny cried. His console was alight with warnings. Press, we gotta get out of here. Okay, so just to help clarify, and I don't remember if it's in the highlight portion here, but I'll just explain it regardless. There's primary controls, first backups, that's what Granny is on, and then a secondary backup, that's what Peter's on, okay? So it is, Peter is last in that line. We don't know if there's a third backup, so it's like he's last in line. And this is all related to auxiliary power. Peter looked up. Right above them, a heat transfer pipe hissed thick yellow-green smoke through a crack in the triple-layered unbreakable matrix of the tube. Peter watched with horror. Coolant link was supposed to be impossible. The radiation signal flashed stroboscopically, while the noxious gas warning hooted. The poisonous coolant gas flooded the trainee's area. Peter's eyes burned. Granny grabbed his arm and tried to pull him away as the rest of the group fled. You're online, Peter cried. Shit, Granny yelled. He broke and ran. Peter fumbled for his respirator. He could barely see by the time he got it on. His chest felt crushed. So Granny has fled. But his console coming up means primaries are down. So backup so it's backup auxiliary power controls that now need to be used, but Granny's fled. And Peter sees this. He knows this. Does what he can with his respirator, but he's seeing this, and it's if no one did anything, auxiliary power would fail completely. So in the movie, we do have the whole Scotty saying he stayed at his post while the other trainees ran and the other cadets ran. He stayed at his post. We do that. We're getting a lot more here, and it's like also the significance of that, because like, okay, what was his post? Well, now we know it was auxiliary power. So with this attack, they're on auxiliary power. That is what they need, and well, we'll get to it a little later. I just want to. Okay. Just a quick thing here, because I don't have it highlighted, not in the notes, but still, it's important for context. That Mr. Scott undiscreet, she said, because Kirk is trying to raise engineering, find out what the hell's going on down there. Scotty, let's have it. His voice sounded strange. Throat mic, Jim thought. He's wearing a respirator. What the hell is happening down there? Okay. We're just hanging on, sir. The main engine energizers are out. Auxiliary power, Kirk said. Damage report. Okay. So it now switches to just giving him the damage report. But we can continue on. I do like that whole, the situational awareness also being written in there. That, wait, Scotty's on a throat mic. That means he's on a respirator. This is even worse. I was like, well, it's only getting worse for him. And Kirk has recognized this. He's considering this. So finally, Khan comes up on communication, and the moment Kirk sees him, just Khan, Jim Kirk exclaimed. But by the way, it is moving between using Kirk, Jim, and Jim Kirk, depending on things. Sometimes also Admiral Kirk. So it is moving between names. I'll be honest, I don't know what I think about that. That's not my style. Typically, if I move around with names, and it's not like the name is hidden, it's just to convey somebody's familiarity. Like Spock, whether he refers to Kirk as Jim, or Admiral, or Captain, it's giving you contextual information. In this one, it's something just normal like that, Jim Kirk explained. I'm not sure if that is providing additional context. I'm not sure what the meaning, what the purpose is there. Maybe there isn't a purpose. I'm not sure. I do want to acknowledge that, though, because it is something that, I mean, it's a valid thing to do in a style. I'm curious what the reason is for this specific example. What's the meaning of this? Kirk said angrily. Where's Reliance crew? Have I not made my meaning plain? Khan said dangerously. I'll keep reading, but I want to come back to that specific sentence. I mean to avenge myself, Admiral, upon you. I've deprived your ship of its power, and soon I intend to deprive you of your life. I think all this is actually in the movie as well. But have I not made my meaning plain? I really like that because it's a line that is part of the reason why villains and evildoers are actually a lot of fun to write. Because, especially when they are actual characters and not just like nameless, faceless beings. Because by their nature, an evildoer, more so an evildoer than a villain, and to explain that, villain to me just means a person with machinations, typically to take power from other people. But in theory, you could have a heroic villain. It's not. It doesn't denote evil. Evil is to more so actually desire direct harm on people. So Khan would be both. He is an evil villain, but in any case. The fun with writing evil people is, by their nature, they are action. They are about action. So, have I not made my meaning plain? That's exactly the line of an evildoer, because I just did this. I did it because I wanted to do it. That is my meaning. Like, the action is my meaning. I don't have anything to inhibit me from doing that. I wanted to do it, so I did it. A hero, or just a good person, because, evil and good person, has a conscience. Would have something that tempers an impulse like that. Whereas a villain, an evildoer, doesn't necessarily have that. Will just do it. And I know I'm mixing in villain when I don't mean to, forgive me. But it's just still, it's that they can just do. They don't need any additional reason besides they desire to. How did I write it in here? Yeah, they are about action. Words are unnecessary as their purpose and motives are clear, and there is no need for anything to come between the will to do something and doing it. The meaning is plain because they mean to do the very thing they did. It's like, what is the meaning of this? It's like, of what? You attacked us. That was my meaning. I mean, it's like, whereas Kirk, being a good guy, he has to, he would need a reason. Like, he would not just spontaneously attack Khan, typically. He needs to be provoked to do that. Khan, the evildoer, needs no provocation. He simply needs the desire to do it, and so he will. And I said, that's part of what makes writing somebody who's evil fun, because they're able to act to violence, carry out violence without provocation. Okay. Khan, listen to me, Kirk said. If it's me you want, I'll beam aboard your ship. All I ask is that you spare my crew. You can do what you want to me. So this is in the movie, but the portrayal that I'm about to get to is, I don't recall being in the movie. Khan lounged back, smiling pleasantly. He stretched his hands towards Kirk, palms up as if weighing James Kirk at his disposal in one against the Enterprise and Jim Kirk's certain but more remote death in the other. So just the whole... There's a most intriguing offer. It is... His voice became low and dangerous. Typical of your sterling character. I shall consider it. So there's also even that, Kirk is making this offer and is just as willing to sacrifice himself. Khan has no interest in such sacrifice. So it's that sterling character, so he's insulting him as well. I'm trying to remember the movie. It's been a while. I'm trying to remember the exact line there. Because we get the whole, I accept your terms, but with the addition of getting Genesis. Certainly the point is the same, is shared with the movie, but I don't remember if the lines specifically are. Now, because this is, in my opinion, the actual Kobayashi Maru moment in the story for Kirk, Saavik, he asks for the Reliance prefix code to be brought up. Saavik found the information Kirk sought, but could see no way it could be of use. I don't understand. You've got to learn why things work on a starship, not just how. The line is a little different in the movie, but the why things work on a starship, not just how, and that is part of the nature for Kirk. With, as I've said before, he competes with the no-win scenario. He doesn't outright reject it like she can. He tries to compete with it. It's like, I don't actually believe you're a no-win scenario, and he finds a way around it. He doesn't just know how things work on a starship. He knows why they work on a starship in the way that they do. So that's... To better clarify that, because it may seem odd, why is this a why thing? She would be fully aware of the prefix codes. That, they're on there for every single command that is run through a computer. Okay, that's how it works. Well, why is that prefix code there? What is its purpose? That Kirk understands. And so it's like, well, it's so that somebody can't just remotely control your computer. We don't get... we don't get the explanation, like, in the movie of it, because it doesn't need to be verbalized as is in the movie. It is explained here, but it's not delivered like in the movie. So he lowers the shields, and Sulu, it describes basically all the energy that the Enterprise has that can go to a phaser attack. He puts it into that phaser attack to do as much damage as possible. And apparently, is that where the shots actually land in the movie? I don't quite remember, but it I think goes in multiple places, but aimed near the bridge. So it knocks out photon control, knocks out warp, and just in general, the line is heavily damaged. So, fire! Joachim, you fool, why don't you fire? I cannot, Khan. They damaged the photon controls and the warp drive. We must withdraw. No! My lord, we must. We have no choice. We must repair the ship. Enterprise cannot escape. He wanted to close his eyes. He wanted to sleep, but he was afraid of his memories and terrified of his dreams. He felt sick unto death of killing and revenge. So there is also... Joachim doesn't want to help Khan here if he doesn't have to. He's not necessarily being disloyal. His point is sound. It's like, no, we have to repair. But it still is, he really just wants out of this. Okay, so at this point, it is not like in the movie where Scotty appears carrying Peter's body, who hasn't yet died, on the turbolift to the bridge, which doesn't make sense. I mean, it's dramatic, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't he go to sickbay? So what is described here is instead, Kirk and Spock go to engineering to figure out what the hell happened, because communication isn't great. Get down there, and the engineer stood trembling, spattered with blood, holding Peter Preston in his arms. The boy lay limp, his eyes closed, blood flowing freely from his nose and his mouth. I'm going to highlight it. I didn't have it highlighted before. Well, that's fine. Sorry, it's being a little weird with taking the highlight. See, I think it's trying to do error correction on some of this. Like, oh no, you didn't actually mean to do that. It's like, yeah, I did. There we go. And Scotty is wanting to get Peter, his nephew, to sickbay because he can't reach McCoy. So they basically do help him get there. And then we next cut to Spock stepped onto the bridge. His shirt was bloody, red blood darkening into brown, not his own. She was at the science officer station. Okay. Spock joined her there because Saavik was there trying to do things to help with the repair crew. Why this necessarily at science, I don't know. But in any case, he goes over there and he pulls up the casualty list for engineering. And she saw on there Peter Preston. Saavik caught her breath. Spock glanced at her. She felt his gaze but could not meet it. Okay. Saavik's hands began to tremble. She stared at them, thinking, this is shameful. You shame yourself and your teacher. Must you bring even more humiliation to Vulcans? Her vision blurred. She squeezed her eyes closed. Okay. This is absolutely one of the things in this chapter that it's just this. I really, really like how this is going, and also the moment it's giving with Spock here and the interplay between them. Lieutenant Saavik, Spock said. Yes, Captain, she whispered. Take this list to Dr. McCoy. She swallowed hard and tried to make her eyes focus on the sheet Spock handed her. The engine room casualty list? Dr. McCoy had no use whatever for it. Indeed, it had just come from him. Captain, please do not argue, Lieutenant, Spock said. His cold tone revealed nothing. The assignment should take you no more than 15 minutes. The bridge can spare you no longer. She stood up and took the copy from his hand, her fingers clenched on it. Crumbling the paper, she looked into Spock's eyes. The bridge can spare you no longer, Lieutenant, he said again. Go quickly. I am sorry. Then it ends with she fled. And it's just... How did I put it in here? Yeah, Spock is pretty good at this. And he is. I mean, my choice would be, some may disagree with me on this, my choice would be that he does completely understand and understand the emotion that she is going through. He's more experienced at it, and also he has tried to control those emotions, but he does fully understand it. He's not just, this is something that people with emotions would have a reaction to. No, I think he fully recognizes it personally. And so he gives her an excuse that appears logical, that is within the order of a ship, so that she can go and potentially be there to say goodbye to Peter. Because we know he's going to die, and it's still, she would want to go. Because he would be on the critical portion of that list. And we do get a fair amount here. And we do have when Kirk comes up, is the word given? The word is given, warp speed. Aye, Peter whispered. We do get that. And we do also get some better explanation here. Hold on, let me see if I can find the actual. Okay. Lacerations, a couple of broken bones, some internal injuries with considerable loss of blood, a hairline fracture of the skull, nothing very serious. At least the loss of blood would actually be serious, but it is, for McCoy, no, he can handle that. The problem is, he was directly below the coolant leak. And where is it? Yeah, the damned technicians, McCoy cursed, the damned technicians claimed nothing else but this wretched, corrosive, teratogenic, gamma-eating poison had a high enough specific heat to protect the engines against meltdown. Well, they also claimed its protection was fail-safe. But Chapel had gone off to actually get the report as to how much was in his blood, because that's the critical thing. if he didn't ingest very much, then he can be saved. But if he has ingested a lot, there's nothing McCoy can do for him. And Scotty is like, you gotta do something, but basically once he understands that that's what has happened to his nephew, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but it does state that, oh yeah, here would be. It's coolant poisoning, Scotty. I'm sorry, it would be possible to keep him alive for another half hour at most. I can't do that to him. Scott started to protest, then stopped. He knew as well as any doctor, perhaps better, the effects of the poison. It's actually kind of silly, because why would he... In theory, no one should have been exposed to this previously that he would know about, but I guess it could also be they drilled that into you as an engineer. And also one other thing, apparently they have an anesthetic field that initially had it on general, so to have Peter be unconscious, but with basically the recognition that he's dead. There was nothing he can do. McCoy turns it to local, so he can in fact wake up. He can be conscious, but he won't feel any pain. So Savick stopped at the door to sickbay. She was too late. She just throws the crumpled up piece of paper in and then runs down the corridor. And by the way, potentially Kirk and Scotty seeing this, by the way. It's possible. Because they were like... Yeah, let me just... Mr. Scott came out of the operating room, flanked and half supported by Admiral Kirk and Dr. McCoy. He was crying behind them. Peter's body lay on the operating table. So it's possible that those three saw her there. It isn't mentioned later, I'm just saying it's possible. So she runs down the corridor and just jumps into the nearest room that has a door, and she locks it then. It isn't fair, she cried in her mind. It isn't fair, he was only a child. She clenched her hands around the top of her chair. As if she was still on hell guard, she flung back her head and screamed. For an instant the madness owned her. She wrenched the chair from the deck, twisting and shearing the bolts, and flung it across the room. It crashed against the bulkhead, dented the metal, and rebounded halfway to her. When Savick knew anything again, she was crouched in a corner, huddled and trembling. She raised her head. Darkness raised no barriers to her. She saw the damage she had done. She was so weak she could control herself once more. Slowly she rose, slowly. Without looking back, she left the conference room. I finished the highlight at the, she saw the damage she had done. Yeah. So, she obviously has been very powerfully impacted. And it will be interesting to see the fallout from that, because you would think she's going to be angry with herself. I mean, even... I didn't highlight it. Let me... Yeah. She fought to control the impossible surge of grief and rage that took her. She was unsuccessful in that fight. Yeah, so I am curious how that will play out later. Yeah. You know, it actually makes me wonder, because there was that... So there'd long been speculation that following the search for Spock, in theory she was pregnant with Spock's child. And in that one thing, I don't remember where it was that they did it, where it was like a, they de-aged Shatner some, and had... no words are spoken, but it was basically that somehow he is brought from the planet in Generations where he's supposed to die. He's brought from that. It's actually put next to Spock as Spock dies to just reunite these two, which it is a really neat video. I'm sorry I don't remember the name. It's just numbers there. You may be able to find it if you look for it. If you look it up. Try to search for it. One thing that did annoy me, though, is that McCoy should also be there. But anyway, they do show Kirk walking by a bunch of people and recognizing some, but also they actually got the actress for Savick in Search for Spock to come back, and had another Vulcan standing next to her, with the implication being that's the son. I don't know if that son has ever been given a name. by any of the theories, but I do feel like if that were true, I could believe her wanting to name him Peter, even though technically that it's a bit after the events of this, but the way the friendship between them has been described for her, and then the way he dies here, no, I would absolutely believe that it would be a congratulations, you have a son. His name is Peter. Are you sure? His name is Peter. Okay. But there's a little bit of talking, Kirk and McCoy talking that, like what just happened here. And also, at least they know, because Khan asked for Genesis, that means he doesn't have it. And that's a good thing, because he's not somebody you want to have Genesis. There may still be time. You gave as good as you got. I got beat. We're only alive because I knew something about these ships that he didn't, Jim sighed. And because one 14-year-old kid, he stopped. Shit, he said, and left sickbay. That's how it ends. And I put in my notes, some bitch, this needs to have him giving commendation to Peter by the end of this book. Because if he doesn't, I'm all with Savick on ripping out his liver, okay? I mean, it's like, no. He's going to deserve that. Because it's true. It is true. Not only was Peter the best of the cadets that we know about, he did not run, but it is also, they needed auxiliary power. That's the only reason they could have done anything, is auxiliary power, and he's the one who, despite taking lethal harm to himself, stayed there and got the job done. He not only that, but because he only operated his station. Grenny's station is the one that's supposed to be handling it. He had to override that one to take control of it himself at his secondary backup. So, he didn't just go over to Grenny's. He stayed at his own, which in theory is, not in theory, that is, in my mind, perfectly appropriate. Because that's his station. That's one he knows. That's one he trusts. He's not responsible for Granny's stations. He's responsible for his own. So if he knows he can put it over to his station, he should. That is the correct response. It would be like, if on the bridge, the weapons console was destroyed, and Sulu, say, takes those controls over to him at the helm, that would be appropriate, because, he knows. Because, he know it's not where they normally go, but he knows the helm. He would do that. Or Spock taking it over to the science station. Whatever. You move it over there because that's your responsibility. You don't necessarily go to it. Okay. So, yeah. So, yeah, he'd better get one freaking good commendation. I'm going to be real pissed. Alright. Hey, actually managed for this to be a short one. And the funny thing is, the chapter isn't short. Although there is... Okay. Because I have talked about this in other things as well, where sometimes with some chapters in other assigned reading books, there's enough action there that seems that there isn't much to talk about, because it's just the action. You got to read through and see the progression in there. Sometimes, though, there isn't any real progression. The action is just filler, and so 5 lines of notes is all I need, if that, because it's just whatever. This is not like that. This definitely does feel like there's progression, like there's strategy. It is a full chapter. It's just I don't necessarily need to talk through all of the action that goes on in it. And not that any of it is filler. It's just I don't necessarily need to talk through it all. So, but it's quite a good chapter. So yeah, see you next time.